So my name is Alicyn Packard. I am an actor, musician, and content creator. Known primarily for my voice acting for different characters for animation, anime, and video games.
There's so much I want to ask you about just right off the cuff, but what I always start with this question, what came first for you? Was it music? Was it performance? Maybe a little bit of both? What started your interest in entertainment in general?
I think, it started from a young age. I took dance lessons. I was very bad. And then I ended up getting into theater starting in like the first grade and was pretty hooked on theater. Did a lot of theater from, elementary school, middle school, high school. And then somewhere in high school, I got into doing oratorical essays and morning announcements and stuff that's like preliminary voice acting. So I kind of thought, oh, not a lot of people knew about voice acting and what a great career it was. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, I had already had a couple jobs under my belt. And so maybe I was more confident than I should have been, but I was able to get an agent out here, and it took a few years to get working, but I was able to start working, and yeah, it's been a really fun career so far.
And may I ask why Los Angeles over say New York?
I am from Boston, so New York and Boston felt very similar, and that was where I was from. The mentality growing up was always just like, oh, California, either you loved it or you hated it, and it seemed to me to be a place where people could root themselves in their dreams and make them happen. And growing up, I grew up in a working class town. There was no models of people making a living as musician or as writers or any of the kinds of things that I was good at and things that I really enjoyed doing. So even initially, I think the biggest I could dream was like Emerson College, which was not too far from where I grew up. That was like the only school I looked at because I knew they had an arts program, and the idea of just like going to college for arts seemed just like a dream come true. And but I majored in broadcast journalism because I'm like, okay, I could be on the news. People, this is a career. This is a job that people do. I don't think it's the same now because we have access to social media and we can see people every day making their dreams come true. But at that time, there was no clear roadmap. I mean, there still isn't a clear roadmap, but there was no clear path, and there was not any examples that I could follow. So that was the dreaming big, I guess. And in a way, voice acting was the playing it safe thing because I was like, oh, I can just do this while I'm working on sort of maybe these other pursuits, like, for example, singing, songwriting, or on camera acting, things that just even seem to be a bigger, um, more challenging, more risky pursuit.
Yeah, and it seems like the voice acting thing has, worked in your favor over the last, a couple
Yeah.
of years or so, or more than that. But you've established just an amazing voice acting career, and I'm curious to see if there were moments where you thought, "This has been great, but maybe I will take that pivot into on screen acting and just see how it goes." Was there a moment like that for you at all, or has this kind of been just the fun part?
Well, I mean, I do have a manager and audition for TV and film stuff as well, but VO has just been like my fairy godmother, and the opportunities seem to be more plentiful. And I've just been able to work more. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but VO has been a great journey for me. But that's not to say that it has always been easy, or there aren't times when I doubt myself or the business or the work, because I think that that is just life as an artist. We don't have a clear path to follow. And every step of the way, you're going to be wondering, is this enough? Is
Mm.
this career enough? Am I working enough? And at a certain point, you learn that you just have to decide for yourself that it's enough.
Yeah, and what, this is probably very, relevant to artists now, during COVID is for sure, but now with, looming strikes and, obviously the Writers Guild strike already, but how do you navigate those areas where you do feel like it's not enough and, you start to feel those fluctuations and, varying levels of passion for this craft? What do you do to kind of alleviate yourself of that stress or feeling those emotions? What helps?
Well, I will say that absolutely I have those feelings, and especially with the changing climate of the global pandemic and more people were auditioning from home now, which we auditioned from home for a while, but we're not necessarily working with a coach or some we can do that on our own, but that's not necessarily provided. We're not going in and meeting casting. We're not having the opportunity to build those relationships unless we actively seek them. And I think for me, the bomb to that is to find the connection and on every level, so the connection to yourself, right? Maybe we are not as in the moment because we are it's hard to connect and like perform when there's no audience there or there's no other actors, and so it's very internal, and if you're an easy distracted person, which I think we all are, and TikTok has told us we all have ADHD. We're easily distracted, and so being able to connect to yourself, for me, that is meditation, that is positive self-talk, and really actively taking a role in the way I feel about myself through exercise, through drinking a lot of water, stuff like that, so that when it comes time to connecting to myself, I don't have too many negative thoughts in my head. So, like making an active choice that I'm going to address those things. EFT tapping is one of the ways that I use to connect to myself. Journaling. I journal like constantly.
Yes.
It's just like a good check in. Go journaling. Um, and then the other thing I would say is connecting to other artists. And so for example, today I was doing a collab with two friends that are content creators. And it was a little rushed because we didn't have as much time as we thought, but we ended up getting a ton of stuff in just a short period of time. And it just lifted me up. It was so inspiring, more than like, auditioning for 3 fast food commercials in the morning might be. And I'm like, okay, at a certain point, like this is the career. Being an artist is the career. So if you're not giving yourself the art and then what are you living for? What are you building? I don't think anybody became an artist because they just want to make money, because hello, I think that's what lawyers do. I don't know, like other careers. The arts are not known for their financial abundance, although people can do very well, and that's within the realm of possibility for sure. But people get into art because it feels good, and because it feels like we're making a difference through storytelling and in a way that is fun and creative and uplifting, I think. Helps us deal with our own um, issues in life and challenges. We can do that in the work, and it can heal us in a way that other things can't. And so I'm going to come back to this work no matter what, um, in terms of art and in terms of time. So I think giving yourself the gift of creation, even if it's not something that's going to be seen by a million people or something that is, the ultimate end goal, but giving it to yourself a little bit every day is so important.
Hmm. Yeah, that is incredibly important. I think it's something that it's no mystery why that's been brought up on this show this year so much. The idea of self care and connection and community as well.
Mhm.
I do want to know, you went from Boston to Los Angeles. Was there a shift in building, your community? Obviously, you're moving, but did it feel any different connecting with artists in California compared to Massachusetts?
Well, that was a time when I was coming out of college, and where I went to school was very collaborative. And there was always like a student film that needed actors, or somebody that needed somebody to stand for a photo shoot or something. Like people were always just making stuff. I was studying visual media arts and production. And so it was just a really cool, exciting, experimental time. And then when I got to LA, we needed the full-time day job to support any kind of artistic pursuits. So I think for a while that got a bit of a bummer, but through that thread was just this idea that like anything can happen. And when you live in that space where you're open to any potential, it's an exciting time, there's a lot of benefits to following your dreams right out of the gate. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all going to come true right away, or that you shouldn't continue to pursue your goals as you move forward in your life. But I think the best time to start working on a dream is right now.
Wow. That was usually I ask the piece of advice that somebody would have for the show. And in
Mhm.
the last 10 minutes, you've given just so many. I'm afraid to even ask that question in the next 10 minutes. So it's just you can tell that you have really thought about this, this portion of your career and how it, correlates to your lifestyle and your own happiness and what you can take from it, what it can give to you. That just everything together, it seems so synonymous with being a working artist. And, with that being said, in my very roundabout caffeine laced way, I do want to like for a second reflect on your first really, let's not say big, but your first VO job in Los Angeles
Mhm.
that made you just smile and say, this is it, this is my career. Is there a moment in your, your previous gigs that stands out?
I was thinking about how when I think it was around 2005 or 6, I booked a part in World of Warcraft, which was a very popular game at the time, and it was an audition that I found on Craigslist
Oh my
off of
god.
the site. Don't discount that. And, that ended up being like such a huge game. And so that was also the year or it was right around the time that the Mr. Men show started airing, which was my first animated TV show. And I was lucky to book 3 very different characters on that. Little Miss Sunshine, Little Miss Naughty, and Little Miss Whoops. I even have some of them back here. I don't know if you can see,
Oh
but
yeah,
it just felt like 3 different aspects of my personality, and, um, it was such a dream come true to, come from having 0 connections in the industry and not knowing anyone to be, living the dream and working on the show. Now, did that mean I was able to quit my day job? No, it didn't. I still had a day job for many years after that, um, and, I think that's important to note too, that there was a time when even though from the outside things are looking really great, like there's times from the inside when you're like, oh, but I still can't support myself doing this art form. I love this art form. Does it love me back? Does it want my full time? Does it want my full attention? Can I make that leap? And fortunately, yeah, I was able to, but many years after I got started doing it.
And did it feel off not having a day job at first? I mean, when you weren't obviously recording for 3 or 4 hour sessions, did it feel
I mean,
off?
I felt like I had so much time. I used to have time to grocery shop. I would be like I remember, like, just feeling like I could just do errands during the day, and now I'm like, "How did I ever have time for errands?" I feel like I've never never have time for anything. Um, but yeah, no, it felt like, making that leap felt like an abundance of time. And, it was scary, but, the funny thing is the universe supports you when it's the right time and you make that choice. And, the first year I left, it was just night and day, from my income, and every year it just, like, kept going up and doubling for quite a few years, and so I was like, "Okay, this is a sign that it was the right choice to make."
And I do want to touch on journaling,
Mhm.
and then everyone's approach to journaling is a little bit different. But what is, you don't have to go into specifics, but what is your approach? Is it more writing self affirmations? Is it more reflective? I mean, as far as your journaling goes, how do
Yeah.
you approach that?
Well, I do have journal prompts that I use. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
um, things to reinforce healthy habits of thinking. What am I excited about? What am I grateful for? What do I desire, and how can I give that which I desire? So I think that was something I came back to this week that was really profound. Of like, if you think about what it is you desire, how can you give that thing right now?
Mm.
And sometimes it's as simple as giving it to ourselves. If it's appreciation or love that we don't realize we're seeking that from the world. But actually, if you stop and sit with yourself, you can give the love and appreciation to yourself, and then your cup is full, and then you're not running around with an empty cup hoping someone will fill it up. Give me an acting job, give me love and appreciation. Instead, you're filling it yourself, and then hopefully you're coming to the roles with your whole self. I mean, it would be probably so embarrassing if anyone ever found my journals, because it's like a lot of just verbally complaining and like throwing up on the page, like getting stuff out so that then it's not in my consciousness anymore, like morning pages style, like just dumping it out.
That's the way it's supposed to be, right? You just get rid of all that muck and all those thoughts and go
And
in.
I've kept like every journal, and like I don't know if I like somehow think my son's gonna like write my um, you know, biography someday, like piece together all these 20 years of journals, which is hilarious because I don't even really ever say what happened that day. It's more just like, but
He'll be
yeah.
on the Today Show, 20 years from now with just a giant stack of twine and
Today I ate
wrap.
some blueberries. Yeah.
Guys, there's a lot of great things in here. Let me get to page 64 and we'll get going.
Here's where she says she feels fat again. The
Oh,
75th
no.
time of year. You know.
Well, I think that's incredibly important. I've been doing it for only the last 4 years or so, so it's always great to hear someone else really advocating for journaling of any kind. There's various aspects of it, but I feel like it's helped me. I know other people said it's helped them, so it's just guys, it's not weird. Just do it. It gets easier. As far as your voiceover work goes, there's obviously a lot of actors now who are trying to venture into voiceover and setting up their studio, and of course I'm just another actor doing a podcast, but there's some who really just want to do voiceover work. So wanted to see if you have any advice specifically for the voiceover opportunists as far as what they can do to just get the wheels turning and make some headway in this, again, crazy and unstable industry we're in.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing that they can do is check out my podcast, Alicyn's Wonderland, because I interview people that work in animation and video games. We have about 100 episodes, and probably more than half of those are with other voice actors.
Hell
And the thing
yeah.
that you'll realize is that everybody has a different story. So you've got to write your own story. I would say approach it like you would approach going to grad school. You want to make sure that you have all the knowledge, resources, and tools that you need to basically start a business. The more you can approach it like you're an entrepreneur and get the skills that you need, obviously, first and foremost is acting.
Mm.
Then there's things that are secondary, like mic technique, um, but then there's also like this whole aspect of owning a small business, invoicing if you need to, how to work with other people, how to get reps. Breaking it down into, there's tons of resources out there. I want to be a voiceactor.com, D. Bradley Baker's site. There's YouTube. But yeah, subscribing to the podcast, you'll hear just kind of about how everybody's story is really different. And, I think the industry is very different than it was when I was getting started. I don't know if it's harder. I think it's probably harder now,
Mm.
just because there is so many people doing it. But that doesn't mean that the talent is always going to rise to the top. And it's less about thinking about what you sound like and more about being focused on the message you're trying to communicate. It's commercial, promo, something like that. Or becoming the character that you are acting as. How do you make their truth your truth? And I mean, there's times when you can just improvise your way into it with less prep. But there's also something to be said about preparing as if you were doing a role for a theater piece or as if you were doing a role for a film or a TV show, except for you have a lot less time usually. And the good news is you have the script right there. But doing your character breakdown, figuring out all the details of the scene, who are you talking to, where are you, what are the circumstances around it. The tricky part is in VO, we're not always given that information. And so it's up to you to make it up as the actor. And how do you make the interesting choice? And then, you want to make sure that you're connecting with the people that are casting and the people that are doing the shows that you love and that you're doing enough research out there. So I would even start just by almost making yourself a business plan, figuring out the end goal. This is a planner that I use that I love a lot and totally recommend, which is called the Dream Book Planner from Dragon Tree. I think I even have an affiliate code that I could share, but I've used this every day for 8 years.
Holy moly.
And so it has you break your year up into your dreams. And then you and this is like a nice freestyle way. It starts with 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, and then your lifetime goals. And then you break it down and back it in there. Okay, so if these are your 3-year goals, what do you need to have done in a year? What do you need to have done this quarter? And you break it down and then you schedule it. Because if it's not on your schedule, it's just a dream, right? We have to have that combination of having the dream and then making it happen. Of course, we want to be open to the possibility it'll just fall in our lap. But the truth is, it's often hard work that gets you there, right? What do they say? Luck is opportunity meets preparation. So being ready and being prepared. And there's going to be things like making a website, maybe you can just manifest a free website and just but you have to bring the reality to the situation that you're probably going to need to, make that happen. Hire someone, do it yourself. Even if you hire someone, you're going to need to organize the information you need on it and write the copy so yeah, I think, I'm a big goal setter. And even though in reality, the things that I hope to get done in a year, they don't all happen, right? A certain percentage of them is just I was that took me way longer than I thought it was going to, right? I'm so ambitious. I'm going to get this, and this done today. But auditions take time. I'm also a mom. So even if not everything happens as I plan it to or as I intended to, the fact is so many things just sort themselves out and unexpected things happen. That take your life in a fun or unexpected turn. But you can kind of weigh out what is my intention and what is my life purpose, and then measure things against your life purpose. So if your life purpose is to do anime, maybe auditioning for that commercial is not the best use of your time. Or maybe it's not the time or the season for you to be going out for on-camera commercials if VO is really the thing you want to make happen. So, tending to your buckets and making sure that you're spending your time and energy on the ones that most fill you up.
Wow. I will definitely be needing the code or the link to the site for that planner first and foremost, because it's gigantic in the best way.
It's so heavy too. They switched it out, so it's really thick paper, so you can use all your fancy bullet journal markers and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like a novel.
Okay.
I'm here's my dream book.
My nerd flag is flying right now. No, that is so great, and everything you said was just wonderfully put. And I know that it's very much appreciated, not only for myself but everyone listening to this. No matter what they're doing as far as this industry or just trying to achieve their goals, that's very important to to point out. And
Yeah.
there's no perfect segue from that, because we went from something that's very pertinent, very crucial, and we're going into something that could be a little goofy. But I wanted to ask you if you have a party story you could share with our listeners. Now, this isn't something that has occurred at a party, but something that has occurred during your, your career in the entertainment industry that stands out so immensely you would easily tell it amongst friends at a party. So it could be funny, it could be scary, it could be, a little just kind of unhinged. But if there's a story that comes to mind, usually the first one that comes to mind is the best one. But I want to see if there's one you could share with our listeners.
I mean, I was thinking about what a high it was last year. I went to the One Voice Awards and won 2 awards for voice acting, one for animated character and one for promo. And I just think it was so amazing because I just did not expect it at all. I'd never been to One Voice, and it was just such a high, to be on that. And I think that people think that when they see something like somebody winning an award or winning an Emmy or something, that the high really just shines. But what they don't see is all the steps going into it. I was also won a Voice Arts Award this year, but I think the first time I was nominated was almost 10 years before. And so I didn't win about 5 times before I actually won. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, because in this business, we are almost always looking for what's next. And it's very easy to compare yourself to somebody else's path and think that you're not doing enough, or what you have is not enough, or what you're working on is not enough. And there's really no comparison, because nobody has the same life. Everybody's lives are so different. And in this business, there's often no rhyme or reason why someone gets chosen over someone else. There's a myriad of different factors, and most of them are out of your control. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, there's going to be highs and lows in your career, but the thing that you can control is the work. So showing up and doing your best work and trying to do that, and taking a few minutes to evaluate when you realize, hey, wait, I kind of phoned that audition in, or like, how come, I wasn't feeling that. I did it anyway. Like, I couldn't get through. I couldn't break through, kind of evaluating like what it is that's standing in your way of being able to give a good performance. And yeah, it's so nice to like have a day where you win. But most of the days you don't. And that's important to recognize too.
And a belated congratulations on the awards, because that's fantastic, especially,
Like it's like that
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss. You know which
Oh,
one I'm talking about?
yeah, but I can't remember what the
Um,
direct, like, passage was. I know exactly what you're
I can
talking
find
about.
it. I'll see if I can track it down. So it was from Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Yes!
Yeah,
I can't even think of what I mean, probably for good reason, but I haven't read that in decades.
I never read it as a kid. Um,
Really?
I never read it as a kid, but somebody got it for my son when he was born. And then, the whole book is fantastic.
Yeah.
But, so it's like this one. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame! You'll be as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone is something you'll be quite a lot. And it goes on, but,
It's
I think he
fantastic.
really just nailed it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, some days you win and some days you don't. Most days you don't. So, how do you give yourself that feeling every day? How do you wake up and say, "Yeah, I won because I woke up and I'm alive. I'm freaking alive. You know, maybe listen to this podcast will do it for you.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe hugging your baby, or maybe petting your dog, or maybe calling a friend. You know, I think more often than not, though, it comes back down to connection. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
in a very
Yeah.
disconnected world, a very fragmented and disconnected world where we're connecting to not a person, but an avatar.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I will say that's one of the main sort of driving purposes of this show to still keep going is that I guess that journey for more connection, meeting more folks and hearing their story and just talking to other artists to remember and continue to remember that yes, everyone's journey is different, but we've all been through the same thing. We're all going through similar rises and falls and pivots and great things. So yeah, I appreciate you for reading that passage too, because I was gonna have to Google that afterwards. I do want to see, outside of your podcast and the various websites that you sourced to help, actors look into VO and, more training for that. If there's anything else I can promote for you within this episode, maybe that thing that you can't talk about yet, but
I have a couple really fun projects coming out in the next couple weeks, but today is June 13th, and it's a little premature for me to be able to say, but I will let you know when stuff is released. In the meantime, if people are curious about hearing some of my music, you can go to Spotify and find me. It's Alicyn Packard. I don't know if they can see this. It's Alicyn Packard. I'm going to be doing a show in Boxborough on July 1st, which is in Massachusetts. And yeah, I'm going to a convention in Texas in October. So the best way to get in touch with me is you can sign up for my newsletter on AlicynPackard.com. So I send I'm trying to do once a month. Let's see if I can actually stick with that schedule, because it's not easy, but trying to do once a month to let people know about different conventions I'm going to be appearing at, different if I might be doing some music shows. And then also I produce a lot of content on like TikTok and Instagram. So if you want to see some video content, some of it funny, some of it's just trying to be funny and not succeeding, you can follow me there. I'm Alicyn Packard on TikTok and at Alicyn on Instagram, because I used to be an early adopter back in the day.
Well, Alicyn, this has been a lot of fun hearing your story, chatting with you, especially with I can't even imagine how little free time you have during the day. So I really appreciate
Thank you
this.
for acknowledging that.
I know you're busy.
People don't get it. A kid takes like 4 hours a day minimum, so that's like something to factor in, right? 8 hours, 8 hours.
As long as you're not making your son, fill out a sign out sheet or something for time with you, I think it's gonna be okay.
Is it on the planner? Is it Bodhi time right now? I don't know. Not. Sorry, but
let me get my 30-pound planner out and we'll look at it. I have one more thing before we depart, and that is what I like to call an awkward goodbye.
Okay.
So at the count of 3, essentially, I just point to you, give me your best verbal and visual awkward goodbye, and I will stop the recording from there. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go.
So, Peter? Paul? Anyway, this is great. So, thank you.